So excited for that. The debut of the big email address. But that is not, folks, that is not where the debuts stop here on the show. Oh, no. The debuts keep coming. Oh, yeah. As I debut exclusive iPhone audio of the legendary Wu-Tang Clan's 25th anniversary celebration of Enter the 36 Chambers, one of the all-time classic hip-hop albums, and really one of the all-time groundbreaking hip-hop albums from the mid-'90s, 25 years ago, as a matter of fact. And the whole clan got back together to honor the occasion for a swing of shows here along the Northeast. And, of course, your boy Big L had to attend those. And, of course, the exclusive iPhone audio will help usher us into our first bit here on the show, which is, of course, another grand debut here on this episode 2 of Big LW's Jammin' World podcast as we bring to you, as Wu-Tang brought the ruckus, we bring to you the first edition of Big LW's Jammin' World podcast, Eyewitness Account Concert Review, a concert review from someone who was actually there to witness it. It's probably how most concert reviews should take, but probably not the most bold stance I'm taking here on the show, but I'm going to be giving you some concert reviews of select concerts that I go to. Of course, I can't give you a full rundown of every show that I go to, but for special shows, I will be giving you the official Jammin' World podcast Eyewitness Account Concert Review, and I felt that the Wu-Tang Clan's 36 Chambers 25th Anniversary Concert was a perfect way to start that one. So that is how we will start the show today. Because, unfortunately, it's not as common as we'd like to get a full Clan performance, like a full Wu-Tang group performance, especially in New York. That's kind of more, it seems, they come together as a full group for assorted festival appearance and kind of one-off shows. It's kind of rare to get them all on the same page. And, of course, a lot of the Wu-Tang members are still touring and still making music. But, of course, others, most notably Method Man and the RZA have kind of spun off into really full-time, more in the film industry than the music world. Of course, Method Man at this point has really become like a full-time actor with his roles in, the recent Luke Cage series on Netflix, and of course he's been in a lot of the HBO shows with, of course, his role as Big Cheese in The Wire, as well as in The Deuce, and then of course his the real signature performance, his Citizen Kane, if you will, which is of course How High, with his stoner classic with Redman from the 90s. But he's kind of at this point really spun into more now of a full-time actor, as well as the RZA, who's at this point, more of a filmmaker. He, of course, has done so much soundtrack work over the years, of course, with a lot of the Quentin Tarantino projects, most known for his amazing soundtrack and score work in the Kill Bill series, and he's gotten to making his own movies. Even at the concert, there was a trailer for an upcoming RZA production that looks like a real gritty kind of gangster crime kind of movie taking place in New Orleans. So that definitely looked like it could be a real sick kind of, urban gangster film. So he's got that coming up. So those two guys have kind of, they've taken their focus a little bit away from music. The other guys are kind of out now spiraling off to their own thing. So it's rare to get them all on the same page. So it was very exciting to hear that they were going to be doing a swing of shows here on the East Coast, limiting it, though, to a small little mini tour. You're figuring Wu-Tang Clan doing a 25th anniversary celebration. They could really take this cross-country, city to city, biggest club, take a bow, really kind of a Wu-Tang Clan victory lap tour, as they really are as popular and like I said before, but just truly iconic in the hip hop '90s rap whole scene, which is still so popular in the rap world. It's kind of really the undisputed golden age of rap is that kind of '90s, that early to mid '90s span where 36 Chambers and a lot of the great Wu-Tang Clan members put their stamp on that era. And you could have imagined that they would try to capitalize on that, going to at least several cities, but no, they kept it to a small little swingy shows here, 2 in Philly, and then 2 here back home in New York City to close out the little mini run of celebratory shows here. And when you hear that they're playing New York City, you get very excited. A little bit less so, however, when you hear that the venue was announced to take place at Terminal 5, which is, of course, probably New York City's least popular venues, with really all sorts of problems. The biggest problem really just being their flow of capacity is all out of whack, where Terminal 5 is like a 3-level venue, right? There's 3 different stories with pretty much just a one admission GA pass that kind of grants you access to anywhere in the venue, excluding, of course, some VIP areas, but pretty much just like a one GA pass that gets you onto all 3 levels. Now, the second and third levels are kind of like a U shape forming around what would be the dance floor. Kind of think like a suburban shopping mall where there's levels on top of each other that you can kind of look down upon. Now, the biggest problem with this here is if you're on the second and third levels, unless you're directly on the railing, you can't really see or have any, visual access to the actual stage, right? So what creates the problem is the place is kind of configured for the capacity to hold X amount of number on each of the floors. Like let's say it's like 1,000-person capacity. It's kind of configured to hold 500 on the first level and then 250 on the second and third levels. The only problem is on the second and third levels, only like 100 people really would have access to a view of the stage from the spot on the railing. So other than that, everybody else doesn't have a view of the stage, so they all end up going down to the first floor where you do, like, theoretically have a view of the stage, but what happens is you get all of the overflow from those other 2 floors down on the first floor. It gets ultra-packed, where the first floor gets, like, uncomfortably crowded, and you can't get to any of the bathroom or bar facilities or anything like that, so that's a mess. And then upstairs there's just pretty much like lots of wasted space. You can be up there and it's a lot less crowded, but then you can't really see the stage, so what's the point? So it's kind of a better venue. It really is more of like an electronic music and like a rave kind of DJ based music where everybody's just on all sorts of ecstasy, dancing around. Who cares about the stage or the bathroom anyway? They're just partying and go nuts. So it's really more of that kind of industrial warehouse vibe as opposed to like a traditional stage concert vibe. So when you go there on a show that's not very oversold, by the way, if you go like to a half-empty Terminal 5, it's a great venue, great sound system, updated, stage quality and all that kind of stuff. So it's got some stuff going for it from like the actual music perspective, but for like the functional audience member, especially on a sold-out show, total nightmare. So for a Saturday night Wu-Tang Clan concert, things getting a little crowded, a little rowdy in there, as we were all packed into the main showroom of Terminal 5 for a show. As hip-hop shows usually start a little fashionably late, so what was supposed to be an 8 o'clock show started at about 9:15 with a opening DJ set from Funkmaster Flex, who, as he always does, stayed in the 90s. He said it was in honor of Wu-Tang Clan's 25th anniversary concert. I think it's because he's Funk Flex and he always stays in the 90s, but lots of 90s classics. And in classic Funk Flex fashion, you got a lot of the, first 30 seconds of lots of 90s classics before, boom, right when you get into it, boom, he just keeps you on your toes, switches you to the next one. But running through all sorts of 90s classics, Anti-Up, Wanksta, The World Is Yours, classic beats from Funk Flex, but unfortunately no bombs. All sorts of beats, not dropping one bomb. I guess he saves the bomb dropping for Funk Flex headlining performances. So this being Funk Flex in a supporting role, no bombs, but Lots of fun getting the energy up and getting everybody moving, and in the 90s hip-hop mind frame as the lights went down and the Wu-Tang Clan performance officially kicked off with the RZA hitting the stage and asking the crowd if we were ready for Wu-Tang Clan to bring the motherfucking ruckus. And as the crowd went wild, all the members of Wu-Tang piled on the stage, the RZA, the GZA, the Ghostface, Raekwon, Method Man, You God, Capadonna, all of your faves, taking the place, of course, in a touching moment, taking the place of all of the Old Dirty Bastard, the late, of course, Old Dirty Bastard, parts would be his firstborn son, Young Dirty Bastard, who was all the charisma of his father. So the whole clan comes out. They open up into a super high energy run through of Bring the Motherfucking Ruckus, as I mentioned, and as it comes to a close, you kind of realize you're sitting there thinking it was a great opening track, opening track of 36 Chambers. You're thinking, and before it even dawns on you, Method Man, who really is, he's the active front man of the band for the performance, kind of leads the procession, takes you through the show. He then announces that in honor of this being the 25th anniversary show, they are going to be running through 36 chambers from front to back to start this bad boy off. So, Bring the Ruckus is followed by the entire album, all of your favorites, Clan in the Front, Mystery of Chess Boxing, Cream, Method Man, Tears, concluding, of course, with a wild Protect Your Neck, which was highlighted by the GZA closing it off with the a cappella last verse to end an amazing way to kick off the show by running through the iconic 36 Chambers album front to back. After that, if the place isn't in a frenzy enough, the boys then continue to run through kind of a whole assorted career-spanning set featuring other, of course, Wu-Tang Clan songs, as well, of course, songs from the individual catalogs of each solo members. So from that a cappella Protect Your Neck closing verse by the GZA, they light into Reunited. It's Wu motherfucker, Wu-Tang motherfucker. And a Wu-Tang concert really has a lot more, shockingly more sing-alongs than you'd imagine. like full crowd sing-alongs. There's fucking more sing-alongs than a goddamn Neil Diamond concert at Terminal 5 for the Wu. But they launch into Reunited. They give you takes on a Severe Punishment. Like I said, some of the solo catalog, Duel of the Iron Mike, Method Man's Bring the Pain. How about this for a run-through? Like I said, Method Man was kind of acts as the de facto band leader, and he really is like a super fun, charismatic band leader. He kind of kept it going with a lot of, funny banter and announcements throughout the show, always demanding more energy and keeping the place rocking. But he, at one point, after, first of all, urging the crowd to make sure they get out and vote for the New York State legalization of marijuana referendum, which, as far as my knowledge, doesn't exist, but he wants us to vote for that. So after telling us he wants us to vote for that, then he pulls out the Rick Moranis from Spaceballs smoke 'em if you got 'em policy and encourages everybody in the crowd with marijuana to start smoking that shit up as he leads the crowd through an epic sing-along version of Rick James's Mary Jane, of course made famous by Smokey and Friday. Do you love me, Mary Jane? So, leads the crowd a sing-along version of Mary Jane, followed by, are you ready for this, Ice Cream into Fourth Chamber Shadowboxing. Epic stuff from Terminal 5. The set continued. There was the hip-hop equivalent of a drum solo, which is, of course, the DJ break, where DJ Mathematics gave his, and the Wu-Tang DJ set kind of featured, it was a lot more of like a Flair DJ performance where he was going through the legs and around the back DJing, and then at one point he was scratching the ones and twos while he then took off his shoes However, in a very broke dick move, which I felt, he took his shoes off, but then he threw them to the side of the stage to be recollected later, where instead of throwing them into the crowd, which would really put the DJ whole set break into, the next level if he threw the Jordans into the crowd. But I mean, come on, this is hip-hop here. It's nothing's more hip-hop than just like lavishly throwing away a pair of $300 Air Jordans every night. But no, DJ Mathematics takes them off and then like throws them to the crowd and wears them for the rest of the show, which was a little bit of a bummer, but pretty hot. Flare DJ set from Mathematics. The rest of the set also highlighted by a Capadonna doing his famous Winter Wars verse, which is definitely really is one of the best verses in all of 90s rap, is Capadonna on Winter Wars. He does that one over Biggie's Who Shot Ya? A must-hear. The show also included, as most hip-hop shows in New York do, but there was a small Biggie tribute, as well as any Wu-Tang show consists of. But, of course, the Old Dirty Bastard tribute, like I mentioned. And like I mentioned, this was an extra emotional show, as the parts of Old Dirty Bastard were being played by his son, Young Dirty Bastard, who led the crowd on yet another sing-along tribute of a couple of ODB classics, as we all sang, of course, the ODB chorus verse of the Mariah Carey classic, Baby, I Got Your Money. So the whole place is singing Baby, I Got Your Money before Young Dirty Bastard launches into Shimmy, Shimmy, Yaw, Shimmy, Yeah, Shimmy, Way, which got the roof no longer on Terminal 5 after Young Dirty Bastard tore it off with that Shimmy, Yaw, Shimmy, Yay. And pretty much all that was left after that was a show closing triumph into the Method Man classic Da Rockweiler, which included Method Man crowd surfing and Young Dirty Bastard running around shirtless. It was amazing to conclude a truly special night at Terminal 5 for the 25th anniversary celebration of the 36 Chambers album for Wu-Tang. The show actually then concluded, really, with again a very poignant speech from Papa Wu. If you guys have never seen a Wu-Tang Clan show, Papa Wu is always traveling with one of the guys anyway, and he's kind of like the guy's like early mentor from back in the day in Shaolin. He was like an older, guy from the neighborhood that they all looked up to and then have taken him around, and he's an eccentric character that wears a suit and a top hat and says all sorts of wacky shit and dances around on stage. But the show ended with a very poignant speech about the love and diversity that makes up a Wu-Tang show, and definitely makes up the New York City Wu-Tang crowd, and talked about what a powerful thing it was to see so many different people and different kinds of people all at the same party under the same roof, having a great time together, and all celebrating the same thing and having a great time, and how positive the energy and the vibes were all night with such a diverse collection of people. And it really is true. You go to a Wu-Tang concert, it really is a shockingly diverse crowd from really every perspective, not even racially. It is, racially as diverse of a crowd. It's literally equal parts black, white, Spanish, and Asian, with lots of, others mixed in there as well. But you get, young kids super into Wu-Tang, old guys super into Wu-Tang, guys and girls super into Wu-Tang. It's an extremely diverse crowd, which you do kind of lose sight on, especially for me, who is kind of more in the jam scene these days, going to more, jam-based shows. But it really can be a staggering thing when you go see Fish or go to a Grateful Dead-inspired show. If you go to see Phil and Friends at the Cap, sometimes it really is staggering the lack of diversity. And Fish do 4 sold-out shows at Madison Square Garden in New York City, and it's all white people that go. It's really amazing how little diversity there is, and it's of course nothing to do with the bands themselves. It's nothing to do with any exclusivity from the bands, or you couldn't find 2 bands that would be more embracive of any kind of people joining the fan base as, let's say, Fish or the Grateful Dead. But for whatever reason, it's only white people that go to the shows. And it's kind of just interesting. I don't even know what I'm saying, but Papa Wu really got me thinking how powerful it was to just be in such a diverse crowd, and what a fun experience it was just partying. And you didn't think about it at the time, of course, but when you kind of compare it to other shows you go to, and even other hip-hop shows, which can be a lot less diverse than a Wu-Tang show, and you can kind of feel a little bit more like an outcast being the middle-aged white guy at the show. But at a Wu-Tang show, we are all karate-themed alter egos of our actual selves, and we're there partying it up. An amazing performance by Wu-Tang. And then another one of the highlights of the show, I guess, was after the show. There was, like I said, talk about racial diversity, but so many white people at the show that there was actually a balloon line, which was really the cherry on top of it all. Was a balloon line outside of the Wu-Tang show, so you get 3 for $20 for the road and a bootleg T-shirt to boot, and you walk off one happy man as Wu-Tang wins again with their 25th anniversary celebration of Enter the 36 Chambers. What a special night in New York City it was, and that, my friends, was the first edition of a Big LW Jammin World podcast eyewitness account concert review. And like I mentioned earlier, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to give you long-winded, detailed concert reviews of every show that I go to. However, this is where I want to bring things full circle, as earlier on I started the show off with the big debut of the show email address, of course, Jammin World Podcast at Yahoo.
Big F! W-E-F-U-N-K. We funk.